Okay, folks. So this is under COVID-19. A lot of people are trying to figure out how to get their hair cut. And I've been cutting my own hair for about 20 years. And part of that process is that I use a Flowbee. So what I'm going to do today is just make a long, boring video of myself cutting my hair the way I usually do it. I'm in our downstairs bathroom here in Stratford, which is very, very cramped. So you can see I've got some obstacles here. And not a complete view of the area, but I'll try to explain what's going on as I go. And usually you want to do a Flowbee haircut with clean, dry, fluffy hair. If your hair is oily or wet, it'll clump together and it will not work as well. It's June, late June here in Stratford, and the weather is very, very hot and very, very humid, and I'm going absolutely out of my mind with my long, long hair. And there's actually no condition under which it really is nice and fluffy and dry. So this is in the morning after a long hot night, and this is about as good as it gets. So usually what you want to do, or for me anyway, is go through it with a comb and get any tangles and snarls out of it. Get it as fluffy as you can. So the tools involved are twofold, actually. This is the Flowbee. It's the second Flowbee I've owned. I can't remember what happened to the first one. Something, I think maybe the transformer burned out or something. This is the cutting head. You got the hose, and this end goes and gets connected to your couple things. The hose here gets connected to the hose of your vacuum cleaner. So you got a small vat. There's a lot of stuff going on in here. I don't need that yet. Where's the and this also has its own independent power supply. There's this huge power brick here, which I'm going to plug in like that, and it has this cord, and that cord connects at the same end where you connect your vacuum cleaner. So your vacuum cleaner goes in here. There's a little electrical connector here. You plug that in. Poof. Now that powers the cutters on the cutting head. And there's a switch here that you turn on and off. This can be connected to the vacuum cleaner in a moment. So I'll leave this in the sink. And I'm not going to lift up my vacuum cleaner, but here's the business end of the vacuum cleaner. So that connects like that. And if you have a vacuum cleaner with a non-standard hose there, I think it comes with some adapters. I didn't need to use any of those. If your vacuum cleaner has one of these little vent things on it, make sure it's closed to get the maximum suck. And they recommend that you put in a new vacuum cleaner bag. If your vacuum cleaner uses bags, and this one is practically new, so I'm not going to change it out. And if your vacuum cleaner has a power setting, put it on the maximum. I'll do that. And here's the power cord for the vacuum cleaner. So you need two outlets here, or an adapter. So I'm going to plug that in over here. And of course the prongs are bent conveniently. There we go. All right. You should also have some oil. The Flowbee comes with an oil container, which is long gone, and this is actually marketed as clock oil. So you want to make sure that your cutting blades are oiled. All right. So Flowbee comes with an assortment of plastic gizmos for spacing. So you don't just take this and run it over your head, because then you'd be practically bald. So there are these spacers that you connect, and at the end of that, you attach one of these doohickeys. There. So it's got these little feet which this glides over your scalp. Your hair goes into this clear plastic tube, and the ends of the hair get cut off by the clippers. Your vacuum cleaner needs to be running to suck the hair down the hose into your vacuum cleaner bag, and off you go. Now, the trick to this, if you let your hair get really long like I did, I mean, I don't mind we're having long hair, but in this weather it's intolerable. I'm gonna cut it quite a bit shorter. You don't want to do it all in one shot. If you try to cut off too much hair at once, the clippers will bog down, your motor will overheat, and eventually it'll stop working. And I think that's what happened to my last Flowbee, so I'm very careful now to avoid cutting off too much at once. If you feel your hair being tugged, you're trying to do too much at once. So it's a very subtle thing. You just want to cut just enough at a time, and what you're going to do is as you go, you're going to take these off and substitute shorter ones and shorter ones and shorter ones until you get it down to the length that you want. So the trick is to look in the mirror and kind of hold the spaces and say, well, my longest hair is about as long as this double stack here, which means if I use this, I'm not going to cut anything off. So you want to cut maybe a ½ inch at a time. So I'm going to substitute the shorter one for that and plug it on there. So now I've got, I think, still might be a little too long, but I will try it. No harm in cutting with the height set too long. Oh, I take my glasses off. This is going to get loud, by the way, so we'll watch this first. Vacuum cleaner on, vacuum cleaner on, cutter on. So yeah, my hair is kind of, from the humidity, it's not as fluffy as I'd like it to be. You kind of have to move it up and down and move it around to try to get the hair to get sucked up into the tube like that. I think Flowbee's instructions recommend sort of an up and down movement, particularly with a longer hair. So I'm going to take this spacer out. I don't think that cut much of anything. I was on the borderline there. This should definitely cut something. We're getting a little bit of laboring on that motor now. Not too bad. So you can definitely tell it's doing something when you hit a motor straining slightly. So I think it definitely takes some practice to figure out how to get that. The hair doesn't cut if it doesn't go in the tube. And particularly if your hair is sticking together, if it's a little oily or a little damp, it's harder for it to go in there. So part of this is having a sense for how to get the hair to go in there. If you miss some and you're working your way down in depth and length, and you miss some, as you go shorter, you'll probably pick up that piece that you missed. When you get it at the shortest setting, you want to be especially careful that you're getting everything in there. But in the beginning stages, it doesn't really matter very much. Now I know from experience, I like it when I get down on the top of my head to a length that's about half this size. And then as I progressively move down the side of my head, I go shorter and shorter until I'm at the edges. I'm as short as I can get. And then I have to switch to the razor to clean up. So I'm going to do half this height and go everywhere again. I already set this one up. These are a little bit brittle. This one is broken. doesn't really matter. Okay. And this hose is coiling and kinking in awkward ways. All right, here we go. So I just noticed, even after I said make sure the vent on the vacuum cleaner hose is closed, as I was bent over, I heard it whooshing, so it was open. I'm not getting as much suck as I'm supposed to get. So I just closed that again, and I think I'll do a little bit better. Particularly hard to tell what's going on in the back, of course. Can't see back there. But I will trim in the back with a mirror, so I'll be able to check to see if it's okay later. Alright, so yeah, if you feel like it's not sucking as much as it should, make sure that everything is supposed to be closed and sealed as closed and sealed. And that was feeling kind of frustrating. It wasn't quite right. So yes, it turned out something was open there. So for men's haircuts, you know, you want a little bit longer on the top and then progressively shorter down the sides. So I'm going to go from this to something even shorter. And then at the last, I'm going to use just this tapered shoe to try to get a extremely close at the edges. It doesn't work very well, but this is the last step. So this is next, not for the top, because if I keep getting the top shorter, I'm going to look a little balder than I want to. This is only for the sides, and this is just going to be for the margins. Now we're going to switch to this tapered shoe and attempt to just go around the very edges. Now you'll notice at this point my sideburns are still way out of control, and this doesn't, you can't really do that fine trimming for things like sideburns that you are accustomed to getting at a real barber. So that's where the cleanup at the end comes in. This is going to go right around the ear, the back, around the ear over here at the sideburns. You have to be mindful of which way it's tapered, of course. Okay, so I think I'm going to put my glasses on and kind of inspect things. I think this is probably about as far as I'm going to go with a Flowbee. Should be. So I get the glasses on. Now, nothing dramatic has ever happened during this haircut. It's like it's all been incremental changes, but now clearly that I've done all this hair is a lot shorter than what I started with. I already feel much better. I've got these wild and woolly sideburns and stuff in the back. You know, I've got hair growing up the top of my back and into my head, and it's kind of unsightly. So the Flowbee just can't deal with the very, very short stuff. So you need, unless you want to accept this, you need to do some trimming with a razor. Trusty wall home cut electric trimmer that we've had for a million years. This also needs some oil to dab on the blades. Much quieter. So there are two things that I need to do here. One is to trim around the ears, get a nice crisp clean cut around there, and to trim the sideburns. And there are some nifty combs to go with this trimmer to help you get the right lengths. And there is a sideburn comb here, and there are tapered combs which tapered, so I'll use these also to help get a nice taper around here. Okay, so first I'm going to go without comb at all, just to get the stray hairs. Want a nice sharp line around the ear and pull the ear. Now, of course, I'm nearsighted, but not nearsighted enough that I can actually see what I'm doing. It's hard to do with your glasses, so this is kind of a little tricky. But I've been doing it for years. I hardly ever make a horrible mistake. These little ones. Hardly ever. Now, I'm doing it on camera for the first time, so this would be a great time to make a massive mistake. It would be really entertaining. It's up on an epic scale. And then these sideburns. If we had actually been going to school, and I'd been going into school, I would have dealt with these sideburns a long time ago, because these are incredibly unsightly. But all I've been doing is Zoom meetings for the last 2 months, and I haven't really worried about it as much. Ouch. Alright. So that's trimmed, exposed my ears nicely. I'll put on this taper blade, taper comb thing to, let's see. I'm going to go right around here and help to, this actually isn't too bad, but helps to clean up any stray hairs that the Flowbee might have missed. This is the part that it's the most interesting to learn how to do. Because I'm going to work with 2 mirrors at a time. Unfortunately, I'm probably blocking. So it takes a while to train yourself to how to move your hands when you're looking in 2 mirrors. We're used to working with 1 mirror, but working in 2 mirrors, it's like trying to back up a 18-wheeler. Alright. I need to make sure that I come up along the back, up the neck, and then hit that line about right. And I usually, once I'm done with this, I'll ask a friend to come in and make sure I haven't missed something really horrible. Weird sticking out. And this looks like it's up to my standards, which aren't very high. That. Now, lastly, so this is pretty much it. The last thing I want to show you is one of the nice things about using a Flowbee for all of this is when you're done with that cleanup bit, you got all this hair all over the place. You grab your vacuum cleaner and you can clean it up. It's a handy brush. Sideburns will never look this good again until my next haircut. Sideburns aren't quite matched, but you know what? Nobody ever sees both at the same time anyway. Shh. Alright, well that's it. Haircut's done. Nicked myself with the electric razor. I hardly ever do that. It's careless, distracted, whatever. Sorry this was boring, but that's how you cut your hair in COVID-19 with a Flowbee.